Hello everyone, let's have more news about the Miami Heat. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Pat Riley and the rest of the Miami Heat's front office may have made up significantly for their inactivity through the first 2 weeks of the NBA offseason with a colossal move for Norman Powell. In what will be remembered as arguably the best Heat trade in years, this is a team that probably isn't done yet. It's quite clear after the move for Powell that another move could be on the way. In all likelihood, all signs do point to Andrew Wiggins being on the chopping block next. Powell does help the Heat from a basketball standpoint, but does little to clarify this team's future from a roster perspective. Wiggins is probably one player who will find himself on the outside looking in. For a second, let's forget about the fact that Wiggins doesn't fit the youth movement that the Heat may be moving toward. From a basketball perspective, the addition of Powell does make Wiggins an expendable player, and if the Heat could get a future first-round pick in exchange for him on the trade market, there's little value in keeping him on the roster. Not to mention that a big part in Miami creating ultimate financial flexibility heading into next summer revolves around trading Wiggins at some point between now and the 2026 NBA trade deadline. And to be quite honest, if the Heat wants to get as much value as they can for Wiggins on the trade market, trading him before the start of the season makes the most sense. Even though the franchise may never admit it, the Heat probably never viewed Wiggins as a long-term piece. That was more of the team making the most of the circumstance. Another big reason why the Heat aren't clearly done making moves revolves around the fact that they're currently slightly over the tax $1.3 million. Now let's go to another video. Don't forget to leave a like.
You can just bring in the person that broke this story, our senior NBA insider, Shams Shirania, who joins us now for much more on this deal. What can you tell us about why both the Clippers and the Heat made this trade? And start with the Miami perspective.
Pat Riley, after all this drama that happened last season, he vowed that there would be roster changes for next season. And what they went out and did is get a major scoring punch in Norman Powell. This is a player, like you said, 22 points a night, 42% from three-point range last season. He was a borderline all-star. And so the Heat want to bring him in and see him fit long-term alongside Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo. That's a lot of scoring in that backcourt between Hero and Norman Powell, but they really feel like he's going to be a perfect fit. They looked into a few other options at the guard and wing positions, but they settled on Norman Powell. And why this trade was possible for both the Jazz perspective and the Clippers perspective is I'm told the Clippers and Jazz were not going to re-sign both Powell and John Collins respectively to long-term deals. And so the Clippers and Jazz were both able to go get players that they feel will help. The Clippers wanted a lob threat, specifically for James Harden, and Kawhi Leonard playing more at the 3 and the 4 now gives them some more versatility with John Collins. So this is a team now in LA that's brought in John Collins, Brook Lopez. They're going to be pursuing guard help as well. So names like Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, Malcolm Brogdon, I'm told, are all on the Clippers target list if Brad Beal is bought out in Phoenix. So both teams felt like they were able to benefit, and largely because they were not going to keep long-term their own player in terms of the Jazz with John Collins and the Clippers with Norman Powell.
LA could also still be in the market for depth at the guard position, maybe a Bradley Beal or a Chris Paul to help solidify a running mate for point guard James Harden. There's just been a barrage of NBA news. You need to take a moment, take a breath. You need to which is what we're going to do with our Clippers reporter, Young Masook. What can you share with us about why the Clippers wanted to make this move?
Well, certainly Norm Powell played his way into earning a new contract. He was entering the last year of his deal. Remember when Kawhi Leonard was out for the first 2+ months? Norm Powell played like an all-star as a starter, averaging 21 points a career year. But the Clippers are looking to get more athletic at power forward. You saw what happened in the first round against Denver. Aaron Gordon kind of had his way. Nikola Jokic as well. They needed to get more athletic. John Collins is a guy that Lawrence Frank just said on a conference call with reporters, a guy that they had kept their eye on for a couple years now. He gives them a rim runner, a guy that can be a threat at the rim for James Harden. He gets more athletic power forward. And as you said, it allows them to move Kawhi Leonard to small forward as well. And then his contract comes off the books. So it's a thing where the Clippers are trying to maintain flexibility, not only for 2 years from now, when Kawhi Leonard comes off the books, and James Harden is also aligned with that as well. But they now have a lot of flexibility next summer if another star should become available.
I don't want to talk about next summer because you mentioned keeping your eye on something. What other potential moves for the Clips should we be keeping our eye on,
Oh yeah. Lawrence Frank, right before the end of his availability, said, "We are not done yet." They have a 5.3 mid-level exception ready to use. They need a starting two guard now with Norm Powell gone. So if a guy like Bradley Beal gets bought out by Phoenix, as many people believe could happen, well, then the Clippers would be a nice landing spot for Bradley Beal potentially, because they could slide him into the starting lineup. The Clippers have a history of trying to get stars on the cheap when they are available suddenly on the market. Some of them have been past their prime, like Russell Westbrook, John Wall, or Rajon Rondo, but Bradley Beal would be a nice fit for them. And then also, Lawrence Frank also said they still need another playmaker. You mentioned Chris Paul and a potential reunion. He is out there, but they have a clear need at backup point guard as well for James Harden.
Yeah, you mentioned Bradley Beal, just 17 points per game last season. That was his fewest since
channel. Hope you're doing well. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. And appreciate you stopping by. So in the midst of the radio show today, which you guys can go watch my live reaction to this happening on the 56WQM YouTube page. We stream live, myself and Leroy Horde, every single weekday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. But in the midst of the show today, we got action, Jack. The Miami Heat were in the midst of a 3-team trade that ended up with the Heat acquiring Norman Powell from the LA Clippers, and that was in exchange for, in a 3-way deal, the Heat sent out Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson, and the Jazz sent John Collins, West Palm Beach's own, to the Clippers, and I believe the Clippers, sent a second-round pick, and that was your 3-teamer, the Miami Heat acquiring Norman Powell from the LA Clippers, who was on the last year of a deal. There was a lot of fodder that the 32-year-old shooting guard wanted an extension, and the Clippers a little squeamish about paying that. And instead, he was on the market for a team that was looking to change some things after having a good regular season last year. The Clippers not exactly having the postseason success that they wanted to, probably because they got somebody like James Harden on their team. That's just me. But this definitely came as a surprise. I mean, I think in the midst of all of us talking about the Bradley Beal thing and the Damian Lillard thing, this one just kind of popped up in the wee hours of this morning and was just like, oh. And it's like I almost don't know how to react just because it's been so long to a significant summer acquisition. And I was like, wow, they actually did it. They did something. And they did something I think everybody's pretty pumped up about. And, you add somebody of Powell's stature who, gave the Clippers last year a career-high 21.8 points per game, but has been just a prolific three-point shooter. And those are two things that the Miami Heat, I mean, they needed that like a fish needs water to breathe, dude. Like, they needed that so bad, and they needed it injected into their veins. And for them to be able to get Norman Powell, whatever the situation ends up being with his contract and whatever the hell his role may be, to do that for Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson, two guys who, one, probably was not going to play, and the other guy, if he was playing, probably something went wrong with one of the young guys, is an absolute gem of a trade for the Miami Heat, Pat Riley, and the front office. They did it. They pulled one off. Very impressive. Now, the thing I'm going to be interested in seeing with this, I think it speaks to a couple of things. One, we already talked about. Miami needed some injection of offensive talent onto this team, and Powell definitely brings that. They needed to replace some of the shooting that they did not have with Duncan Robinson. The question to me now is, where do they go from here? Now, is this the move before another move? Is this the first of a series of moves? Or is this just, hey, this is our big acquisition? Because if it is their big acquisition, if the Miami Heat go into this and there's maybe just a roster shaving, which, by the way, this move did open up a roster spot. So if there is going to be that safe hub for Damian Lillard who wants to be on the Miami Heat, they do have that ability to now sign him. It could also mean, hey, maybe they like somebody on the Summer League squad. Maybe they get to a point where they're worried about somebody poaching away Vlad Golden or poaching away somebody else on the Summer League roster. So now they have that ability and flexibility as well. So it could mean, possibly the Dame thing is out there still, but this certainly, eradicated any Bradley Beal pursuit. And you saw some of the reports that were out there afterwards from Ethan Skolnick, from Barry Jackson, that the Heat didn't really have Bradley Beal in their temperature. And look, to be fair, while Bradley Beal, his highest of heights have been better than Norman Powell, right now, as you're talking about importance to a team, this guy very arguably could have been an all-star last season. I mean, he really, especially in it's a very tough conference to make it. If it was in the East, he might have made it. He might have made the all-star team. But, for him to just be gotten for what the Heat gave up, which was no draft equity, no nothing. Kevin Love and his Instagram jokes. Great clubhouse guy. Great locker room. Hey, fun times, Kevin Love. And Kyle Anderson, who was on the Heat for 3 seconds as part of the Jimmy Butler trade, and you put yourself in a better cap situation as far as Kyle Anderson, I think, was non-guaranteed last year, so I don't think neither of these guys were too daunting. But you're also you're bringing in a way more productive player, and you're not sinking in more cost. I don't really know what the criticism of this trade could be, because it honestly gives you a lot of levers you could pull with the Heat. It's going to be interesting to see what do they do with him, because at his age, he did get a taste of starting a lot this year after his first couple of years where he was right there for Sixth Man of the Year with the LA Clippers. He started all 60 of his games this season. Some talk of, hey, should they have? But they felt, with their health situation and Kawhi coming back, should they have done that? Should they have brought him back, or should they put him back on the bench? Is that where he's best served? So with the Miami Heat, is this going to be a situation where you have a guy as prolific as he is? Do you just want to inject the Heat lineup with more shooting, more offense? Where does that put Davion Mitchell? Does Davion Mitchell, should he be out there shooting and providing the defense that you signed him up to do? Or do you just add starting backcourt is going to be two guys who could absolutely just light it up from downtown between him and Tyler Hero? Neither really a true point guard. Or is there something else coming? I think that's the other thing. Does this signal that the Miami Heat, now having some wiggle room of having what Norman Powell can bring to the table, does this signal that there's going to be a move for Andrew Wiggins out the door? This is more bringing in a veteran, so you now have somebody kind of in the age range of Andrew Wiggins, Bam Adebayo. I think this thankfully, I think will silence a lot of the trade Bam Adebayo talks that surfaced over the weekend, and we talked about that in a previous video. But I think when you bring in a guy like Norman Powell, I think that signals, no, we're going to try something here. We're going to take some kind of a swing here, which finally they did, man. I mean, finally they put something on they put something together that at least is we can actually say, hey, the Heat got better. The Heat did not get worse. There's no subtraction here. There's no caveat. If they just are as they are, at least you now have a tangible thing on your roster where you're this is why we're going to be a little bit better this year. Finally, you don't have to talk yourself into it. It doesn't have to be a pep talk on the Summer League stuff, because look, Summer League is a couple of games. I'm not writing any obituaries on anybody's rookie seasons yet, but there's nothing that's happened over the first couple of games that's been oh yeah, we're totally going in this other direction where we're going to be comfortable with it. No, they need capable players, and they need guys who are going to be absolute producers for them. Is there any element, though, that the Heat are still going to look in the regard to trading Andrew Wiggins and completely for a move that may completely clear up their books? Because that's the other element of this, is that does put them in a position where, all right, the cap is getting very much in a place where it's getting cleared up. Wiggins, we know that there's been, I guess, some fodder there, most of it coming from the LA side that they've been looking at him. But Miami doesn't seem super eager unless they can get their haul. Nothing from the Lakers' youth side of things has really popped. So does this put it in a fold where Miami would trade Andrew Wiggins and then they're going to start Davion, Tyler, and Norman Powell? it's a little bit of a weird fit. You're talking a very, very small 1 through 3 there, though Davion is a bulldog defensively, and Powell is not known as like a defensive stopper, but you're obviously adding what you have with them from a shooting perspective. Not having anybody to fill in Andrew Wiggins' two-way stuff, and then also the possibility of like, could you start Nico if you do get rid of Andrew Wiggins? So there's that possibility as well. So the only thing that I wonder with this Powell trade from a drama standpoint is, all right, he's a guy who wants a contract extension. I'm sure he enjoyed starting last year, putting up the numbers that he did. Where are we at with, is he thinking he's coming? I mean, he probably, it's last year of his deal. So is he coming here and the Miami's like, hey, you start, it works out? No, but you're going to be in a position to succeed. Or is there the possibility that Miami is eyeballing moving off of Tyler and starting him and Davion, and they're looking at another direction of Tyler Hero, and they brought in somebody who can do a lot of the Hero-like things, even though he's obviously a little older. He's going to be on the tail end of his prime while Tyler's just starting to enter that prime. I feel like this reads no. I feel like they're trying to support Tyler. I think they're trying to give Tyler and Bam an actual weapon here. So I don't think that's the case. I think if there's another move coming, they certainly got to add a little bit more size on the bench, losing Love, just somebody capable. And then the Wiggins thing still remaining a thing. I think that's where it's leaning more. But obviously when this all happens, you're kind of looking at it and you're like, all right, is there going to be something else? Is there another shoe to drop here? Hey, let's not get greedy. Okay, ridiculous. Let's get greedy with the way that we've been lately. But it felt like just to taste that action again, like, oh, we're starting to get going. We're making some moves to actually try and improve this team. What a concept. And so, like, look, even if it's not the sexy name of a Beal or a Kevin Durant or any of that, man, this guy was so damn good last year for his squad, and you brought him in for peanuts. For me, it's just like, all right, that I think is going to get everybody's juices flowing. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of the moves or that there's nothing else coming or whatever. But yeah, it is a little bit of there are still a little bit of like, all right, so it's not like you did sign your point guard to a multi-year deal, though he's definitely a guy who could come off the bench and be the defensive bulldog, although it feels like you would want him starting next to those guys. So what does this mean? Like, where does it go? Because if Tyler's on the team, obviously he's starting. He's your draftee. He's one of the faces of your team. So is Powell cool with like coming here and being a six man again? I mean, listen, the guy's a pro's pro. He's been doing it forever. This is something that he kind of just waltzed into, this year from his time since he's left Toronto. A lot of time with the Clippers was being that igniter off the bench. So it's not like he's not used to that. So there is some benefit from that. But, man, I mean, Miami, you just look, it's like, she's almost 42% from downtown last year on 7+ attempts a game. Just very, very exciting. Miami needed this like crazy.
The NBA offseason is heating up, and the Miami Heat are poised to make a significant splash with a potential acquisition of Phoenix Suns guard Bradley Beal. The Heat are expected to be at the front of the line to sign the three-time All-Star following a potential buyout with the Suns, as per NBA insider Brett Siegel. This move could reshape the Eastern Conference landscape and bolster the Heat's roster as they aim to reclaim their competitive edge after a disappointing 37-45 season that ended with a playoff sweep by Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Beal has been a topic of speculation after a challenging tenure with the Suns. With 2 years and $110 million remaining on his contract, the Suns are reportedly negotiating a buyout to alleviate their salary cap constraints. The 32-year-old guard, known for his scoring prowess, averaging 21.5 points per game over his 13-year career, could give up approximately $14 million to become an unrestricted free agent. This financial sacrifice opens the door for contending teams, with the Heat leading the charge. The Heat's interest aligns with their strategy to enhance their core, featuring Bam Adebayo and Tyler Herro, especially after dealing away Jimmy Butler's at the trade deadline back in February. Beal's addition could provide veteran leadership and offensive firepower, complementing the Heat's gritty style. As the buyout nears completion, the basketball world watches eagerly. For Beal, a fresh start in Miami could reignite his all-star form, making this an intriguing storyline to follow as the 2025-26 season approaches. And you, fan, what do you think about Bradley Beal's situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.